The microphone and floor to our Honorable Consul General Gina Hamorale.
First, let me thank SBM Administrator Wilma Aisma for that very passionate speech about your experience and your leadership in Subic. But first of all, let me acknowledge Ambassador Romualdez for coming over here. And of course, my special thanks to our community leaders for coming all the way, driving, especially those coming from the farthest Nebraska and Wichita. Thank you. We are really heartened by your presence and attendance here. So that's the advantage of registering your organization with a Philippine consulate. Because if you are not registered with us, we might not be able to reach you. So we try to invite all those organizations that are included in our registry of organizations. And if we miss some organization, please tell them to register with us. Thank you very much for coming over. And of course, our guest, special guest who came here, Mayor Edwina Perkins. And Deputy Mayor Bolingbrook, Michael Lawler. And of course, and other guests. I was telling Ambassador Romualdez, I don't know if I just make a one-word introduction or read my speech. But, I hate to pass this opportunity to say something about him as a person. So we have circulated his CV, so I think more or less you would have an idea how accomplished he is and his extensive experience in media and government. But I know him very well as really a media man and a business executive. And in fact, when I heard about Babe Romualdez, I first associated with Philippine Star. When I was in college, when I heard Babe Romualdez, I thought he's a woman. Pardon me, yes. Because, I'm a college student, so I didn't bother to investigate, but I always hear his name. But then, until that time, when I joined the DFA in 1992, I haven't still met the famous columnist Babe Romualdez until in 2016, when I was in Honolulu, assigned as Consul General, where I finally met him. He was with the Philippine delegation of Filipino business people, and one of them was in fact Manny Pangilinan, and an academic, Professor Rene de Castro, who was also my schoolmate at UP Manila. They invited me, they were in Hawaii, upon the invitation of the U.S. Pacific Command Commander Harry Harris to visit the PACOM headquarters in Pearl Harbor. And his group invited me to dinner. And that's where I met him first, face to face. Knowing that he's also a friend of my boss, then Secretary Albert De Rosario, I wanted to impress him by saying, "Sir, I also want to invite you for dinner," to reciprocate the dinner that they invited me. But to my surprise, he said, "Iha, alam ko maliit ang budget ng consulate, wag na." I said, "Oh my God." So sabi ko, well, I felt both embarrassed and yet appreciated his candidness and honesty. Yeah, he's right. We have very limited budget, but being a diplomat myself, I wanted to show being hospitable. Even if these people are really, belong to the richest, the elite group, but as a diplomat, I always show I want to be a good host, since I was in Hawaii. But knowing with that answer, I said, "Thank you, sir, for understanding my situation." With that, as a person, I realized that he is humble, with great sense of humor, and very down to earth. Shortly after that incident in Hawaii, he was appointed Ambassador of the Republic of the Philippines to the United States in July 2017 by President Rodrigo Duterte. On 29 November 2017, he presented his credentials to U.S. President Trump and formally assumed office as Philippine Ambassador to the United States. He was involved in the negotiations with the U.S. for the return of the Balanginga bells to the Philippines and personally accompanied and hand-carry or turn over and witness the return of the bells to its rightful home in Balanginga Church in Easter Samar in December 2018. Without much ado, it is my honor to present the Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the Republic of the Philippines, His Excellency Ambassador Romualdez.
Thank you for that very profound introduction, Consul General. I didn't realize that I was trying to save you money there. I accepted your invitation. Well, first of all, I'm really just a babe in the woods because this is the first time I'm taking the diplomatic post ever. Actually, this is the first, perhaps the only time I will be in government. I've always stayed away from government, mainly because when you are in media, it's always better to be criticizing people rather than being criticized. So now occasionally I get criticized, and I can't say too much because I'm supposed to be a diplomat. You can imagine how frustrating that can be. But nevertheless, it's really a great honor for me to be here in the United States, to be the ambassador of the Philippines. And this is because of people like you. The Filipino-American community here in the United States is a very special kind of people because we have made our country proud. Many of the Filipino-Americans who live here are successful in their own right, very well appreciated in their communities, and most of them have gone on to become very successful people. In fact, one of the first things that I did when I first arrived here was because we did not have an ambassador for about a year and a half, I obviously had to sort of like hit the ground running by interacting with many of the U.S. congressmen and senators in Washington, D.C. Of course, as you know, there are many issues that are being thrown at us to a certain extent. And so every time I would see a U.S. senator, the subject would always be on something a little pretty serious and ticklish. But at the end of the conversation, we always end up talking about the Filipino community in their area. And all of them, 100% of every single one of the senators and the congressmen that I interact with have always something good to say about the Filipino-American community in their area. And they're very proud and very happy that they have such a group in their community. So again, congratulations to all of you for such a... You do make all of us proud, and I'm very happy, and I hope that you will continue to be part of your community. Of course, the SPMA chair, Ms. Amy Isme, is very passionate about Subic Bay, but you can just come and visit. You don't have to go back and stay there. Because you're doing well here, but you can go back there and probably you can tell many of your friends, perhaps in the business community, on how progress has been made in the Philippines over the past 10 years. Many things have happened, and I don't know if you were here when we showed the video, which I asked our Consul General to show on the Build, Build, Build program. This is a $178 billion infrastructure program that was started by the President and it's being implemented right now. I know that you probably hear a lot about the traffic that goes on in the Philippines, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. One day you will see that maybe not as plush as the highways that you have here in Chicago or even in other parts of the United States, but we're going to get there. We're connecting all the islands, 7,600 islands that will be connected. Some of the islands that are being built by our Chinese friends will probably be given to us eventually. Who knows? But we will also connect them. So it's really a pleasure to be able to tell you all of these things. Let me also thank Mayor Perkins of Maywood for being here. Thank you very much for doing that. Brandon. And the other special guests that we have here today. And of course, my dear friend, Captain Brian Bozell. He is a very good friend of the Philippines, and he is indeed one of those that have worked hard for the return of the Balangiga bells. Brian has been working at it for many, many years, and we both had the honor of being able to, well, first we went to Wyoming together to formally receive the ceremonial turnover from Secretary James Mattis. And then we subsequently went to the Philippines and we installed or gave the bells to the Balangiga Church in Samar. It was a very emotional one because we all know the history that went on during those days. But that is symbolic of the kind of friendship that we have with this country. This is a country that we've had a long relationship, and it is one of the closest, perhaps the real ally that we have. Today, 85% of Filipinos believe that the United States is our most trusted ally. And rightly so, because they have been with us for so many years. They have been around, especially, and again, Captain Bozell was in Manila just a month ago to celebrate the 75th anniversary of the return of General Douglas MacArthur in Leyte. So you can see that that relationship has been there. And Leyte happens to be the province of my father. And so there's a significant there's something significant about the place because not only did MacArthur land there 75 years ago, but very recently, not too long ago, 6 years ago, that was November 8, 2013, when the biggest typhoon hit the Philippines, perhaps the biggest in the world, where 10,000 people died. I remember very well because my cousin, who was the mayor of Tacloban City, called me up the next morning after the storm where the big typhoon hit. And he was shaking, telling me that this is something that no one ever expected. The whole place is just completely devastated. There is nothing left. And this is just the city of Tacloban. We realized that almost the entire area was really completely destroyed by the storm. As you probably saw on television then, you could see this hardship that many of the people got through there. But just the same, that morning he told me, I think the United States is the only country that can help us here. So he asked me if you can call the U.S. Embassy, and I happened to have had a very good relationship with the military attaché then. His name was Colonel Rick Matten. And I called him up and I told him, Colonel, we need your help here. And so he immediately told me that he'll call me back within the hour. And luckily, the USS George Washington, one of the biggest aircraft carriers of the United States, was in Hong Kong at that time. I think it was there for sort of like an R&R for the U.S. Navy personnel operating the George Washington. And so in less than 2 days, the USS George Washington came to Leyte Cove, the very same place where General MacArthur landed 75 years ago. And the Americans went into action, with all the resources, they saved so many lives. And just simple fresh water that their ship could produce because of desalination, their desalination process saved many, many more lives. This is an example of the kind of relationship we have with this country. And we are very pleased and always happy when we have occasions where we can always tell our American friends on how much we appreciate their friendship. And all of you here in this room play a major role in making that friendship strong. Because you are the very same people that actually make the leaders of this country appreciate us too, because of the kind of work that you give them and the kind of service that you do in your community. And so, again, I congratulate all of you. I have a 500-page speech here, which I thought maybe you'll be just bored, and I think our Subic Bay Chair has already given you the gang-ho on what the Philippines is all about. So maybe it's better if we just tell you what I thought would be a good thing to say. Suffice it to say that I also would just like to thank the many Americans who have helped us in the past, not only with the Balangiga bells, but in many other aspects, especially in Subic and in Clark. And just a little bit of a note on Clark Air Base, the former Air Force base of the United States. It is now one of our so-called green city. It is the city that has been completely, or it is a place that has been completely transformed into a green city. It is something that we are going to duplicate all over the country. When you do go to Manila to visit, I urge you to go to Clark, because that is the place where many companies are being invited to come. In fact, FedEx, a big American company, has decided to be there to set up shop, the biggest hub that they will have. And we have many other companies that are also coming into Subic. And it's also a very nice place to stay now. They have very good communities, big areas for development, and the airport is going to be ready to be operated where we will be able to have as many as 8 million passengers a year, and perhaps even bigger as they expand the operations. So this is what it is. The former Clark Air Base that played a major role in the friendship that we have with the United States. Subic is a place where the chair was able to tell you all about it. All of this is now being transformed into an economic powerhouse, so to speak, because this is where we will see how the development of the Philippines is going, and we hope that it will be a very successful one. And certainly we urge you to, if you can't come yourself, just tell your friends about it, because we are not what they, but for many years we were always sort of like a dependent country in the United States, but now we have a very good relationship with this country where we have a mutual partnership. It is a partnership that we are not here to ask for aid, we are here to extend our hand in friendship. This is what I always tell many of the U.S. congressmen and senators today, that we are here because we are your friends. We want to continue our friendship for a very, very long time, perhaps forever, at least of my lifetime, and that we will have that connection, the people-people connection that all of you have. So thank you very much for listening to me, and also thank you for inviting me. Chicago is not as windy as it is today, which is good because my hair will fly away. So that it's not yet as cold, getting cold, but not as cold. So people like me who live in the Philippines, the cold is something that we sometimes we dread it. But just the same, I'm very happy to be here for the warm welcome that Joel gave me. Thank you very much.
Morning, Mr. Ambassador. My name is Joseph Lariosa of PhilamMessenger.com here in Chicago. What can you say about the appointment of Vice President Robredo as drug czar? Do you think the human rights criticism will subside with her appointment getting some government powers? Do you think she can stop the drug lords and drug pushers? Thank you.
First of all, I think I welcome myself personally the appointment and her acceptance of that position as the co-chair of this anti-drug body. There is no doubt that this drug war has obviously caused a lot of problems for the country in terms of our image abroad. But the acceptance of Vice President Robredo is a very laudable one, because it only goes to show that we are a country that in times of trouble, we will get together, and her joining this particular body shows that she herself is willing to contribute to this very big problem that the country has. As you know, I have been in media for more than 40 years, and I have been an observer of many things in the Philippines over the past 40 years. And the drug situation was pretty bad 10 years ago. When President Duterte went onto this drug war, I can tell you that as a media practitioner, observing many of the things that happen in our country, the drug situation was really probably one of the worst. And I say that completely out of what I saw and what I observed, because it has really reached to many offices. Many of our local officials were actually involved in it, and as you know, recently the PNP chief was sort of like asked to retire early because he too was involved in the drug situation. At least that is the alleged accusation on him. But it is very rampant, and nobody wants to see a country become a narco state. I certainly don't want to be living in a country where it is a narco state. I have opted to go back to the Philippines. I lived here in the United States for many, many years, but I opted to go back because it is my home, and I intend to stay there forever. And so we all want to see this kind of menace that is also prevalent in many parts of the world, even here in the United States, in Mexico, in Colombia, and many other parts, in Thailand. So this is something that we have to really face up to. And so Vice President Robredo's joining the government, or at least the administration of President Duterte, to fight this drug menace is very laudable, and I congratulate her. I know her personally. In fact, I just talked to her chief of staff this morning to convey my congratulations, and that we will support her in every way. And I plan to convey that message to the senators that I'm going to meet in the coming week on what we're trying to do to address this issue on human rights, which I'm sure the Vice President will be able to see for herself what the situation is like. Thank you.
Thank you. Name?
Felix Stanford.
Okay. And why are you here?
I'm actually here with the Filipino Heritage Foundation from Nebraska. Me and my mom were a part of it, and so I came down to represent.
Welcome to Chicago.
Videography, video editing, and reporting. This is Joseph Gelariosa of PhilamMessenger.com in Niles, Illinois.